Welcome to Inspirational Leadership. I'm your host, Kristen Harcourt, and today we have a solo episode on the podcast. And this is a topic I'm super passionate about. I think it's an important one and one where a lot of leaders tend to struggle, not just leaders, individuals, humans in all areas tend to struggle. And the topic for today is giving yourself permission to slow down. Slow down. I know a lot of the individuals who are listening to this podcast are high achievers, who are very driven and ambitious and goal oriented, all wonderful attributes. They can also have a downside when they are overcompensated, when they are being used in a way that can be to your detriment. So I'm going to start off with a sentence that I say a lot for anyone has probably heard this on the podcast, but if you've heard me speak, I talk a lot about this when I'm speaking or doing training or working with leaders one-on-one. And that is a reminder that you are a human being, not a human doing. Yet there can be so much of an emphasis on the doing. This does not mean that one is at the expense of others. I understand that you are definitely going to be doing and taking a lot of action in your day-to-day. Awesome. It's about being more conscious around not just hyper-focused on the doing, but more pausing, checking in, listening to yourself, attuning into those parts of you that are making it clear around who do you want to be and how are you being moment to moment. So when we start to think about slowing down, for anyone listening to the podcast live right now, it's December 2023. This topic is relevant all year long, though. So no matter when you're listening to this podcast, it might be in the summer that you're listening to it. The beauty of podcasts is they're around for many years. So it isn't necessarily going to be December when you listen to it. However, I do want to recognize that December, this time of year, can be even more amplified in that doing, going, action, because you've got so much conditioning also telling you about all these things that you have to do in order to be enough, to be the perfect parent, the best mother or father or wife or husband or girlfriend or employee or child or all of the different roles and identities you wear. And there can be a lot of pressure around needing to perform and needing to be able to do it all right. So my experience is this time of year as we go into December, for a lot of people can actually feel very stressful. Of course, some of the stress is due to having so many priorities and so many things that you're having to accomplish, whether that be finishing up your year and then being able to go on vacation and have holidays. This might be holiday baking, making dinners, getting gifts, all of the stuff. One of the things I would challenge you to give some thought to, even right now in this moment, is it true that all of those things that are currently on your list are really priorities? If you were to slow down and ask yourself some questions around what truly matters. I was actually watching with my son, the Scrooge, and watching, oh my gosh, the Grinch Who Stole Christmas, not Scrooge. Reminds me of Scrooge, but the Grinch Who Stole Christmas, we were watching the 2000 version with Jim Carrey. And it'd been a while since I watched the Grinch Who Stole Christmas. And just hearing so much of the messaging, which was around Christmas and the holidays for people who do celebrate. It's not about the presents. It's not about the food. It's not about getting everything on your list done. The magic of the holidays is actually about the slowing down and connecting human to human, heart to heart, having meaningful, purposeful, intentional conversations and having that space carved out where you're not feeling like you have to get up early in the morning and go to your job. Now you have some time and space to be able to spend with loved ones. And for people who don't celebrate Christmas this time of the year, most workplaces are closing. So it's still a time for you to be able to slow down and be able to have time with loved ones and those holidays. But I want to encourage all of you to, even in this moment, if you're hearing this, it's December, it hasn't, the holidays haven't started yet. Where can you deprioritize? Is there something on the list that you can let go of? And as we start to look throughout the year, when it comes to giving yourself permission to slow down, one of my questions for you is, what are you avoiding by not slowing down? So, one of the reasons that people are always driving for results and ambitious and goal oriented and constantly in that do action is because as they're continuing to have that momentum and constantly moving, there isn't the time and space to perhaps ask bigger questions around, is this working for me? Am I feeling good? Am I feeling fulfilled? Is this the right job? Is this the right role? Are there some things that I am sacrificing right now? Are there some boundaries? If you haven't heard my podcast episode, there's one back in October, I believe, October or November, I had a solo episode on having healthy boundaries. So is the staying busy a way of avoiding having to ask yourself the deeper questions? Look at yourself in the mirror and see, are you truly in alignment with what you want, with what you say you want, with what you say is important? Are the choices you're making aligned? And slowing down forces you to be able to get some of that clarity. So I'm curious, is some of this busyness a way to be able to avoid having to reflect, to look inwards and hear what some of those answers would be? The thing is, when it comes to rest, we all need rest. We need that time and space where we're not doing something, right? We've gotten into a culture that is very overscheduled, whether that's overscheduled for yourself or overscheduled for others, your family, running around, taking care of everybody else. Where can you make some shifts in order to be able to have that time for rest and rejuvenation and recharging? And this is also an opportunity to be able to do some of that resetting. So, as we start to approach the end of 2023 and we're going into 2024, when you slow down a little bit and carve out some space, then you can ask yourself some of those questions and do some reflecting on what went on in 2023 and where you headed in 2024. So, this is a really good time over the holidays to intentionally carve out some time and space, maybe an hour, a couple of hours. This is a gift for yourself to be able to take a step back and ask yourself, okay, let's look at 2023. What were some of my big wins for the year? And really taking some time to go through month by month and acknowledge and pause and celebrate the progress and the wins that you had this year. And you're also a human, so I know for sure that there were some struggles. What were some of those struggles this year? And what was some of the learning that came from these struggles? How can you apply that learning going forward? What are some of the big insights that came through from both those wins and from the struggles? And then as you've had some time to reflect on that, you can also ask yourself, okay, based on all of that, when I start to summarize my year, what does that look for like for you as you go into 2024? What do you want to do more of? Right? There could be some new habits that you developed in 2023 that you're quite proud of and you want to continue doing that. And what do you want to stop doing? There might have been some things as you reflect that you realize were not working for you as well as you would have liked. Maybe it was too much travel. Maybe it was not enough time with family and friends. Maybe it wasn't enough time for exercise. So maybe you're going to stop saying yes to all of the business travel. Maybe you're going to say no to um, constantly going to meetings. Maybe you don't want to have as many meetings on your calendar and you're going to have to say no to some of those meetings. So just asking yourself, for you, what do you want to stop doing? And then what do you want to do? So we talked about, what are you going to start doing? What are you going to stop doing? What do you want to do more of? What do you want to do less of? So taking some time to ask yourself those questions as you get into 2024. And then really getting into, what is your vision for 2024? And not just getting in your head for that vision, but really tuning in. How do you want to feel as you get into 2024? Do you want to feel content? Do you want to feel a sense of calm and peace? Do you want to feel a sense of focus and a sense of ease and flow? Perhaps you want to feel a sense of ambition. Maybe you're feeling like you want to be bolder in 2024. What does that version look like for you? What do you want to continue to step into? Continue to, or maybe start something new? What do you want to step into for 2024? What are some of those growth edges? And one of the things I love to do with clients as we go to the end of the year, and we do this at the beginning when we start working together, and we're constantly checking in on this, is asking yourself, I have something that's called a wheel of life. And when you look at those 8 different areas in your wheel of life, how would you rank yourself from 1 to 10, how it currently looks, and where do you want it to look? Where do you want to make some adjustments as you go into 2024? So the areas of the wheel in life are family and friends, significant other, health and wellness, hobbies and fun, finances, career, spiritual, or we could say well-being or joy or happiness, whatever that looks like for you. But some of that self-care and time for you to go inwards, personal growth would fall under this as well. And then physical environment. Your physical environment can be at work in your office. Your physical environment can also be your home, where you spend a lot of time. How would you rank yourself in each of those areas? 1 being not feeling and looking so good right now, 10 being amazing. I love how things are going in this area right now. And this is not designed to make you feel bad about where things are not necessarily where you would like them to be right now, but more about taking some time to get very clear on, where are some of those possibilities for change? Where are you noticing that you want to focus your time and attention as we go into 2024? So you might look at those different areas and recognize, well, when if I look at health and wellness, if I look at how I would rank myself this year, maybe I'd give myself a 7. Well, why did you give yourself a 7? You might say, I didn't necessarily have a regular exercise routine. Maybe I wasn't eating as healthy as I would like to eat, drinking enough water, getting enough sleep. So for each of you, it's going to look different. But if you start to think about, where did you perhaps struggle in that area? So again, staying with the example of health and wellness, where did you notice some struggles? And then if you were to get to a 10, if you're at a 7 and you were to get at a 10, what are you doing to close that gap? Where are there some opportunities to make some changes in order to get to that 10? And sometimes this is baby steps. You don't have to do all of it at once. You might say, okay, I'm going to start with, I want to make sleep more of a priority. And in order to make sleep more of a priority, if we take that's the goal and then we break that down into some micro actions, what are some steps you're going to take? Well, if I want to make sleep a priority, I'm going to start to create a bedtime routine. Your bedtime might be now going to bed at 10 o'clock, and making sure that I'm having a nice sleep routine, that it's something that's nourishing. I have something where I'm preparing my body and let it know that it's time to go to sleep. And then knowing that when I do that, then it's easier for me to get up in the morning, whatever that morning time is. Right. So really getting intentional about, what are those different opportunities for you for growth that are going to, by you making those changes, that are going to result in you feeling more fulfillment, more joy, more purpose, more connection with yourself and others. So really taking some time to ask yourself, what is your vision for the new year? And then the other piece that's really important is, what kind of supports do you need to get there? So this isn't about trying to do everything all by yourself alone. And if you're noticing these are some things where you want to make changes, there's a much higher likelihood of there being accountability for you to make those changes if you have supports in place. So if you recognize you want to be able to get exercise in and make that something consistent, maybe that means that you're going to do a form of exercise that's really fun for you with a friend. So that's going to be more encouraging and make it more fun and make you more likely to do that. Maybe you know for you that would actually make sense to invest in a personal trainer. Maybe that looks like working with a coach, having somebody who's going to be a professional coach that's going to hold you accountable to make these changes at work or make these changes in your personal life. Maybe that means joining a community and being with a group of individuals who are working on some of these goals, and you can be supporting one another. Could be something if you're in HR, maybe you're going to join an HR community. So you're around other like-minded people who are doing the same kind of work as you. Maybe you identify somebody that you have strong trust with, and each of you become accountability buddies. There's so many options here, but I think it's really important as you start to think about your vision and goals for 2024 that you are very clear that this is not something that you're doing on your own, but this is something that you can do with others and have support in order to feel less alone as you're working on this. Have other people who are there to celebrate you and celebrate the progress and celebrate the wins, but also to have somebody who is there to be a sounding board when you are having struggles, to be able to reflect back when you aren't necessarily making conscious choices and staying aligned with that vision that you've identified for yourself. So really creating that time and space and to recognize that as you slow down, it is much easier to hear your intuition. It is much easier to hear your most resourceful self, to hear that wise self, to hear that wisdom coming through in order to be able to identify what truly matters to you. And are your actions, are your daily actions, are your daily habits aligned with what you have said out loud or to others or to yourself around what truly matters? I'm telling you that slowing down can be such a huge, huge change in your life that has many, 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 many benefits. We live in a culture that celebrates the glorification of busy. It's like a badge of honor. Tell others about how busy you are and everything that you're going on. They will commiserate with you. They will connect with you. They will say, me too. All of this stuff is going on. You get to decide to intentionally pull yourself off of that hamster wheel. The hamster wheel where you're going around and around and around and around, but you don't actually get anywhere. It doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel good when that's happening. So here's my invitation to you. My invitation is this is the year. This is the moment where you ask yourself, what does it look like for you to intentionally slow down, to stop with the busyness and the badge of honor? And listen, I really want to acknowledge that, of course, you work in workplaces that can be very full. And I'm not saying, okay, I'm just going to go to my workplace and tell them I'm not going to be busy anymore. I've decided to slow down. And so I'm going to work 3 hours a day. I'm a realist here. I know what your world looks like. I work with leaders across industries globally. I see the same patterns everywhere. So I get it. If I had my way, I would be encouraging organizations to have a lot less meetings. I would encourage organizations to make sure that employees are not under-resourced and make sure that they have clear expectations. And if people are feeling under-resourced, we're making sure that that individual has the support that they need. That's a whole other podcast conversation. And I continue to have these dialogues with HR and with CEOs to really help them understand what it looks like to create humanized workplaces where individuals can be very successful, but also their well-being is maintained through that, and creating sustainable workplaces. So I do want to acknowledge that there are still a lot of cultures where we have a long way to go to make sure the organization is operating in that way. But for now, my invitation for you, if you aren't a decision maker who can help to make that happen in your workplaces, what does that look like to do it for you on the individual level? To really give yourself permission to intentionally slow down, not only now in December as we approach the holidays and go into a new year, but all year round, to intentionally slow down, create more time, moments for pause, white space in your calendar, white space both personally and white space professionally, in order to be able to be more focused, have more clarity, and be able to spend your time and your resources on what matters most. For everyone who is hearing this in December, I am wishing you a wonderful holiday season filled with lots of love and laughter and joy and connection and meaningful moments with the people who matter most to you. If you enjoyed this episode, please share with others. I really appreciate your reviews on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Reviews help to get the podcast in front of a wider audience. And if you're interested in learning more about my programs and services, please reach out. I would love to have a conversation. And as always, wherever you are in the world, I'm saying good morning, good afternoon, good evening, sending tons of love. Bye-bye.